and their intellectuals, many of whom worked to produce a new version of the Torah which had a Messiah that was pacifistic, asked people to turn the other cheek, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, the Roman Messiah.
And now Rome created a Messiah to fool the world into worshiping the Roman emperor. And they wrote it in a form so later they would be able to point at you and laugh and say, "Ha, we told you so."
The stories that they made up, okay, the concepts that they stole, but they're committed and they will die for this deception. Because they believe it. They believe the lie that was documented by the liar. All of the lies and stories and concepts that these people made up.
The Romans invented Jesus, made him up as part of a satire of the Jews. And I'm telling you, if you watch these programs, there's going to be a few of them as we go through the book, you will have no choice but to admit, damn, we've been fooled. And remember, early evidence says yes, Jesus was invented. Early evidence says yes, Christ was Caesar's Messiah. And now Rome created a Messiah to fool the world into worshiping the Roman emperor. And they wrote it in a form so later they would be able to point at you and laugh and say, "Ha, we told you so." You are hooked on prophecy. You are prophecy junkies. You can't smoke enough of it. You can't drink enough of it. You are hooked on prophecy. You are prophecy junkies. It's Jesuit. They made it. The Jesuits were the pimp, not the pimps. The Jesuits were the dealers. They're the ones that made it. And they created it when everybody else that knew anything about the scriptures knew that they were wrong. But now, you are hooked on prophecy. You are prophecy junkies.
So in creating the Gospels, they created a sort of very clever counter-strategy. They co-opted the opposition by creating an opposition movement of their own, a sort of peace movement. They created a peace movement of their very own, but the peace movement was centered on the worship of Caesar. And then they tried to present it as a rebellion against Rome, and that is why the texts have elements of appearing to be anti-Rome, but they're really pro-Rome. And if you end up worshipping Jesus, what you will really end up doing is worshipping Caesar in disguise.
I spent at least 25 years believing and trying to prove that Jesus was real. I actually spent probably at least 30 years trying to prove that Jesus was real, because cognitive dissonance is a real thing and it's a tough thing to deal with, because your confirmation bias is extremely difficult to break. You learn something, you're taught something, your culture teaches something, and you automatically want to believe it, you defend it, and it takes a lot of time, in my case, over 30 years, to gain anything that remotely resembles objectivity. The empirical mind will allow themselves to go there, will consider it, and will weigh it out. And when you do, I think that you find, like I found, even after giving 2 decades, almost a quarter century of my life to the propagation of the Jesus myth, now stand back and realize that it was not true, and it is not true. In addition to the fact that there's no historical, anthropological, impartial, empirical, objective evidence about the Jesus being an actual person, it is as close to an anthropological impossibility as it can be. Well, Jeff, what do you know about anthropology? I have a associate's degree with a major in anthropology. What do you got? I'll wait. What do you got? You asked. I answered. It is as close to an anthropological impossibility, and it is an anthropological absurdity.
There actually are clues in the Gospels that point to who the true authors were.
And they left us documents to prove it.
I mean, they really had it down pat. They have Jesus saying, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, which is basically in response to talking about money. Whose benefit would that be? It's so blatantly obvious.
In the future, Christians would pay their taxes to the pontiff, which was simply another name for Caesar.
To wars of the Jews. You look at wars of the Jews compared to the New Testament. I've done this myself. That's why I'm so respectful of it. You got this book side by side, and all of a sudden, Atwill started seeing a pattern. He saw a pattern, he saw a connection that events in the ministry of Jesus seemed to closely parallel events in the military campaign of Titus Flavius as he subdued Jerusalem and Judea. Think about that. Jesus is here doing this at this place at this time. Well, that's weird because Titus was here doing the same thing at the same place at the same time. That's weird. Once it's weird. Okay, here he is again. Jesus is the same place. Titus, same place. Same time, same time. Now you got two. That's curious. And then when you get down to the third, where'd Jesus go next? Oh, Titus went to the same place. What'd Jesus do next? Oh, Titus did the same thing. It's a pattern then. And only an objective empirical mind that's looking at literature for literature's sake, the Romans invented Jesus. Made him up as part of a satire of the Jews. And I'm telling you, if you watch these programs, there's going to be a few of them as we go through the book, you will have no choice but to admit, damn, we've been fooled. And remember, early evidence says, yes, Jesus was invented. Early evidence says, yes, Christ was Caesar's Messiah. And now Rome created a Messiah to fool the world into worshiping the Roman emperor. And they wrote it in a form so later they would be able to point at you and laugh and say, ha, we told you so. You are hooked on prophecy.